I was alone in my car, having contractions every 3 minutes, when my phone vibrated with a text from my husband. Mom says this resort doesn't allow last-minute cancellations. You'll be fine. If you need to, call an ambulance. My water broke right then and there on the passenger seat. I was in a supermarket parking lot 30 minutes from the hospital, and Jack was 2 hours away at a lakeside resort with his parents. I gave birth in the back seat of a stranger's car, and he didn't even know. My name is Emma, I'm 31 years old, and I'm an elementary school teacher. I've been married to Jack for 4 years. We'd been together for 7. I was always the one who adapted, the one who bent over backwards to get along with his family, especially with his mom, Linda. She had opinions on everything: my job, my pregnancy weight gain, my emotional reactions. I spent 9 months walking on eggshells, but I never made demands. I didn't throw tantrums. I just wanted us to be a team, especially on the day our daughter would be born. Jack was always a mama's boy. I knew it from the start, but I thought becoming a father would change him. I thought he would finally put us first. Leave your location in the comments. I read them all. And if you've ever felt invisible to the person who promised to love you, you'll understand what happened next. It was a Tuesday morning 2 weeks before my due date. Jack's parents had planned a long weekend at a resort 2 hours north. Jack was going with them to help with the driving. I had mentioned it the week before. What if the baby comes early? He didn't even look up from his phone. We still have 2 weeks. You'll be fine. First babies are always late. Everyone says that. That Tuesday, I woke up at 6 a.m. with contractions. They were irregular, uncomfortable, but real. Jack was already packed, his suitcase by the door. I think it's starting, I told him. He zipped up his jacket. They're probably just false contractions. I'll keep my phone on. His mom honked from the driveway. Jack kissed my forehead as if I were a child and left. 2 hours later, I was having contractions every 5 minutes. I called him. No answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I sent him a text. Jack, I need you. This is real. 45 minutes later, he replied. We're almost there. Mom says the resort doesn't allow cancellations. If you need to, call an ambulance. I stared at the screen, trembling. I typed, I'm your wife. I'm having your baby. His response came quickly. Don't be dramatic. Are you okay? The contractions were now 3 minutes apart. I could barely stand or breathe. I managed to get into the car, thinking I could drive myself to the hospital. I made it 2 blocks before I had to pull over into a supermarket parking lot. That's when a woman tapped on my window. Her name was Paula. She had kind eyes and a firm voice. Honey, are you okay? I shook my head, crying. She called 911, stayed with me, held my hand. The ambulance didn't make it in time. I gave birth in the backseat of Paula's Honda Civic, parked between a minivan and a pickup truck. She guided me through everything, a complete stranger. My daughter came into the world crying, healthy and strong, and my husband was at a resort 2 hours away with his phone turned off. He didn't return my calls for 6 hours. By then I was already in a hospital bed, stitched up, with my baby girl in my arms. When he finally answered, his first words weren't an apology. Why couldn't you have waited? We could have done this together tomorrow. I hung up. Jack didn't show up until the next day with his parents. Linda walked in first, her purse on her arm, her face a mask of annoyance. You couldn't wait 2 more days. We had to cut our trip short. I was sitting up in bed, exhausted, in pain, and Jack was standing behind her saying nothing. Linda walked over and took my baby without even asking. She's smaller than I thought. Are you sure you're feeding her properly? I opened my mouth to respond, but Jack cut in. Mom, don't stress her out. But he didn't tell her to stop. He never told her to stop. The first week at home was a nightmare. I was recovering. Tears, bleeding, sleepless nights, feeding her every 2 hours. Jack went back to work after 3 days. I asked for his help with the night feedings. I have to work. You're at home. I just gave birth and I have a job too. Someone has to pay the bills. His mom started coming over daily, unannounced. She would criticize how I swaddled the baby, how I burped her, the temperature of the room. And Jack always backed her up. She raised 3 kids, Emma. You should listen to her. One night I broke down. I begged him. I almost had our baby alone in a parking lot. Don't you care? He looked at me as if I were being unreasonable. Are you still on about that? I told you I was sorry. He never had. He never once apologized. 2 weeks after the birth, Linda insisted on a family dinner to celebrate the baby. I didn't want to go. I was exhausted, still bleeding. It hurt to sit down. But Jack insisted. It's important to my mom. Just for an hour. When we arrived, Linda opened the door with a huge smile. Amy is here. She just loves babies. Amy, Jack's ex-girlfriend. I froze in the doorway. Linda had invited her without telling me. Amy spent the entire night holding my daughter. Linda couldn't stop gushing over her. You'd be such an amazing mom one day, Amy. I was sitting on the sofa, invisible in pain, watching a stranger hold my baby. I turned to Jack. Can we go, please? We just got here. Stop being so sensitive. I left. I called an Uber, took my baby, and went home alone. Sitting in the back seat holding my daughter, I started to wonder if I was the problem. Maybe I was overreacting, maybe I was just too emotional. But deep down I knew. It wasn't exhaustion, it was erasure. What they didn't know was that I had started keeping a record, right from that parking lot. I was documenting everything, every text message, every moment Jack chose his parents over me and our baby. Screenshots of the call and ambulance if you need to text. Timestamp photos from the parking lot. Paula had stayed in touch. She checked on me every few days. One afternoon she told me something that changed everything. I'm a paralegal, she said gently. I didn't want to think about custody, but I started doing my research. I also had a secret savings account. Jack didn't know about it. Years of birthday money, private tutoring gigs. It wasn't much, but it was enough. I didn't know if I would ever use it, but I wasn't going to be invisible forever. Paula offered to write a sworn statement as a witness to the day in the parking lot. My coworker Jen came to visit one afternoon. She saw Jack swiping on his phone while I struggled to soothe our crying baby. She didn't say anything then, but later she sent me a text. You deserve better. If you ever need a place to stay, my door is open. Meanwhile, Jack and Linda started making plans without me. We're going to take her on Saturdays, Linda announced one day. You're clearly overwhelmed. You need a break. I don't need that, I tried to say. Jack cut me off. Don't be stubborn. Accept the help. It wasn't help, it was control. One afternoon I overheard Jack on the phone with his mom. Yeah, she's been weird since the baby was born. I think it's hormones. She'll get over it. I knew then that this was never going to change. The breaking point came at our daughter's 1-month pediatric checkup. I had reminded Jack 3 times. He forgot. He was at brunch with his parents. I went alone. Again. Sitting in the clinic with my baby, I made a decision. That night I asked Jack to sit down. He thought it was about dinner. I need you to listen, I said. Really listen. He barely looked up. Okay. What? I'm leaving. His head snapped up. You can't be serious. Where are you supposed to go? I found an apartment. I'm moving out this weekend. I'm taking our daughter with me. He shot to his feet. You can't take my daughter. My mom is going to. I cut him off. Your mom isn't her mother. I am. And you barely are one. His face turned red. Are you insane? I pulled a folder from the cabinet. Printouts of the texts. My journal. Photos from the parking lot. Paula's written statement. Pediatric records showing I had attended every appointment alone. I have everything, I said. Every time you chose us last. Every time you left me to do it all alone. Jack's voice trembled. It was a mistake. You're going to destroy our family over one bad day. My voice came out calm, steady. It wasn't one day. It's been every single day since you left me in a parking lot to give birth to our daughter. And you still think you did nothing wrong. He grabbed his phone. I knew what he was doing. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. Linda and Jack's dad walked in without knocking. Linda's voice was sharp. Emma, you're being irrational. Postpartum does things to a woman's. Get out, I interrupted. She blinked. I'm sorry, what did you say? This is my house. You are not going to gaslight me in here. Get out. Linda looked at Jack. He said nothing. She turned and stormed out, her husband trailing behind her. Jack stared at me. If you do this, we're done. I won't forgive you. I looked him straight in the eye. I'm counting on it. That weekend I moved in with Jen. A month later I found a small apartment nearby. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. Jack tried to negotiate, but only on his terms. He wanted weekends with the baby at his parents' house. I set clear boundaries with the lawyer. Supervised visits at first and slowly if he earned my trust. Linda tried to slander me to our mutual friends, but most of them had already seen the truth. A few of Jack's friends even messaged me privately, offering support. I went back to teaching part-time. My colleagues helped me with childcare. Paula became one of my best friends, my daughter's unofficial godmother. And slowly I understood something. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. I gave birth alone in a stranger's car. But I didn't end up alone. I found my strength in the worst moment of my life, and I finally understood. I never needed him. I just needed to believe in myself. Now my daughter and I have our own space. No criticism, no blame, just peace. And every night when I read her a bedtime story, I know we're going to be okay. Has your family ever treated you this way? Tell me your story. If you've ever had to choose yourself after a betrayal, hit follow. This community sees you. Where are you reading this from? Leave it in the comments. I read every single one. Your story matters. You matter. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise.